Hello again, everyone. This is BionicSlime, your online voice for reviews of your choice. Welcome to BS Reviews. Today's requested review comes from my good friend and equally awesome online reviewer, Sky11 Dragoon, who has requested the OVA anime series Dragon Half. Dragon Half was created by manga author Ryusuke Mita and was brought and dubbed by ADV Films. Directed by Shinya Sadamitsu, who served as a storyboard and episode director on such anime as Blue Seed and Shin-chan. The artwork was done by two different artists, first being Masahiro Koyama, who's worked on such anime as Wolf's Rain, and the second was Takahiro Kishida, who's worked on such anime as Baccano. Stars the vocal cast of Jessica Calvello as Mink, Aaron Crone as Dick Saucer, Amanda Wynn Lee as Princess Vina, Brett Weaver as Damaramu, and Paul Sadello as the King. The plot of Dragon Half. The title Dragon Half refers to the main character Mink, a ordinary young girl except for the fact that she was born with the horns, tail, wings, and powers of a red dragon, the most dangerous and feared of all kinds of dragons in all the land, who also happens to be Mink's mother. You see, Mink's mother was supposed to be slain by the king's top swordsman, Ruth the Red Lightning. Unfortunately, Ruth fell in love with the Red Dragon, married her, and had a child with her, so those plans kind of fell through. The king was pissed about this, so he wants to execute Ruth so that he can have the Red Dragon for his wife to be. Yeah, I don't know how that would work either. The king kidnaps Mink in hopes of trying to lure Ruth into a lethal trap. Unfortunately, it backfires, it pisses Mink off, and she and the king become mortal enemies, as well as the king's daughter, Princess Vina, a slime half, girl who's half human, half slime, who is enraged at Mink because she believes she's stolen the heart of her own personal beloved, Dick Saucer, the world's best dragon slayer and pop singer. And Vina basically tells Mink that because of her dragon half nature, that Dick will never be with her because she's a dragon, and he kills dragons, and he would sooner cut her head off than get in bed with her. Upset about this, Mink goes on a quest to find the magical people potion, a mystical liquid that can turn anyone who drinks it into a perfectly ordinary human being. She goes on this quest with her elf friend Lufa and her young female friend Pia. Unfortunately, Princess Vina, the king, his wizard, his swordsman, every other yahoo, nutjob, psychopath, and nutcase in the world is out to stop Mink. Review of the plot. Sounds like I'm treating this anime's plot way too lightly. That's because the anime takes itself way too lightly. If you haven't noticed already, this is a very, very, very silly anime. It's ridiculous, it's insane, it's wacko, and it's just nuttier than Chinese fruitcake. The show is designed to basically have fun and go nuts with it, and that's what it does. I find it funny that this anime is prone to turning the characters into super demented little chibi forms themselves at the drop of a hat. It always goes to silly rather than serious, and it has a really, really great time doing it. One of the great things this show has going for it is that it pokes fun at its own inadequacies about its plotline. I mean, it makes no sense why the hell the idiot king would think that Ruth's wife would go to him just because her husband is dead, and they poke that out in the show. Or why every character who seems to meet Mink just wants to kill her and stop her from achieving her quest. I mean, the show loves to poke fun at its own jokes. I mean, there's one character who even admits that he doesn't need story continuity to kill Mink, and it just shows to show you how silly the show is and how much fun it has with mocking its own storyline, its own characters, and its own universe. I mean, it's set in medieval times with dragons and magic, and yet there's still an airport and flying planes and crap like that. That's just a taste of how ridiculous and silly the show is, and that's one of the many reasons I love it and get such a kick out of it. The anime doesn't really go far, though, because unfortunately there's only 2 episodes to the show. However, for just 2 episodes, I have never laughed so hard in my life. When I first saw this, I was bawling my eyes out with tears because it was so funny, so ridiculous, and just so silly that I'm amazed you can squeeze all of that humor into just 2 episodes. So if you're not here to laugh, then you're really going to hate this show. But considering how bizarre and how constant the humor is, lobbed at you, I really can't see how you couldn't laugh at the show. View of the characters. Jessica Calvello as Mink, kind of funny because Calvello was actually the original voice of Excel in Excel Saga before she was replaced halfway due to the fact that she lost her voice. And I think it's funny that Mink is one of the few characters who actually takes the show seriously but still is prone to silliness and stupidity. I mean, the character will take the plot very seriously and still try for all this, even though she's prone to such cute and amusingly silly, exaggerated responses. And I think it makes the character funnier because it makes her sort of a mix that she's still trying to carry on the semblance that there's some kind of sane plot here, but still invokes a sense of nuttiness that you expect from this kind of show. And Calvello does a great job with that. Her responses and the sound she makes for Mink, they're great. They sound hilarious, and they really fit well with the character and the tone of the show. Aaron Crone, excellent as Dick Saucer. I mean, Dick Saucer is just a hilarious character, both in name and occupation. For God's sakes, he's a dragon slayer and a pop singer. That's just too stupid for words, and I loved every minute of it. I mean, he really plays with this doofus kind of Elvis kind of bravado, brave knight character. Really got more of a sense. It's like he's so convinced that this character knows what he's talking about when it's just so outrageous. You really can't take it seriously. Amanda Wynn Lee was alright as Venus. She didn't really do anything that stood out as an amazing character performance. I've seen her in other roles, and she was kind of the same here. The character is neat, the whole slime half thing, but Amanda Wynn Lee just really didn't give anything that revolutionized this character's performance or made her stand out. I loved Andy McGavin as Rosario. He was the perfect choice for this. He's a friggin' wizard whose magic consists of using poison darts when he's trying to capture someone alive and bringing in buckets of dry ice to create fog so it makes him look like he has a more ominous presence. And if you've followed Andy McGavin's work, you'll know that he plays 90% of the time villains in other anime series. He always plays a bad guy. And here he plays such a stupid, incompetent one that it just makes it even funnier for the character, especially for Andy McGavin. Paul Sadello as the king, and I think this was his best role because he perfectly transitions serious to silliness in like seconds, and I think that really makes the character so much more fun to watch. I mean, he's got the perfect voice for this character, and it just makes the humor that he drops that much more effective. By far the best, though, easily, Brett Weaver as Damaramu. Such a phenomenally hilarious character. The fact that he refers to himself in the third character in almost every sentence, and the fact that he's just so incredibly stupid, and he's half the reason to watch the show. Him alone, it's what makes this show so funny. He's got such stupid lines and such stupidly perfect delivery. It's just, you have to see this guy for the show alone. That's how good he is. I can't really stress that enough. I was kind of disappointed with Pia and Lufa, the best friends of Mink. They don't really do much. They're kind of a waste of space. They offer a couple good jokes, but in essence, the characters really don't bring that much to the table. View of the animation and the music. It's kind of hard to rate an anime series when the animation is almost constantly in chibi form. I mean, they're almost always looking silly and stupid in this show. It's very brightly colored, and I really like the animation style. It actually reminds me a lot of Slayers. The music is funny. I mean, it was interesting at times, weird at others, and really weird at others. Flaws about the show. Even though I love the fact that this show was so freaking funny in just 2 episodes, the problem remains. It's still just 2 freaking episodes. I want to know what moron actually thought this is a good idea and punch him in the nuts, because this is by far one of the stupidest, dumbest, idiotic, retarded, brain dead, mind-blowingly incompetent things I have ever seen since they started that stupid ass reboot of the Spider-Man. Look, I understand that things happen. People leave, people get fired, you don't have enough money to finish a series. That's fine. But when you build up this plot line, even for a ridiculous show like Dragon Half, and you only make 2 episodes, you should at least try to wrap up the storyline and all the plot holes in the 2 episodes you have. At least try to have some sort of resolution at the end. In here, you give us nothing. Boob kiss, jack shit. You didn't finish or wrap up anything. And it's just looking completely retarded if you ask me. I don't care what country this came from. I don't care what writer wrote this. I don't care who it was from. There is no excuse for making something this completely stupid. You don't just make a series, build up the quest that you're setting this character out on, and then drop it after 2 episodes. Not unless you want to look completely stupid, and that's what it does. This show was pretty much perfect, except for the fact that you just made 2 episodes. Final wrap-up. Dragon Half is an hysterical, funny-ass anime that just will truly tickle your funny bones and just make them crack all over. It's a great show that unfortunately has become difficult to find ever since ADV went under. But if you can find it, I highly recommend you do so because this anime is totally worth the effort. The characters are well written and well acted. I loved Andy McGavin as Rosario and Brett Weaver as Damaramu. They totally stole the show. The music is funny and just so silly. You have to see it to believe it. And it was just a great show that condensed so much excellent and brilliant humor in 2 short episodes. But that's the key word there, short. And there is no excuse for leaving this show in such a piss poor manner. It is completely retarded for the writers and creators to leave this series with just 2 episodes and leaving all of the storylines and plot holes and everything completely unresolved. And it, like I said, it's just inexcusable. It is a true tragedy that this show was reduced to just 2 episodes. However, it's not really a fault of the anime's quality because it was too short. That's more of a fault on the show's quantity, and I guarantee you, had the show been longer, it would have been a much bigger hit. Bottom line, I give Dragon Half 4 stars out of 5 stars. Well, that's all for now. This has been BionicSlime for BS Reviews. Thank you all for listening, and goodbye for now.